We've got a banger video topic over here if you are an NHL prospects fan. Because today, what I wanted to do was head over to eliteprospects.com and give a big shout out over to the crew led by David St. Louis, who published this article earlier yesterday, re-ranking the 2021 NHL Draft class 5 years later. Now, here's the thing. EP Rinkside has been an amazing investment for me as a hockey content creator. I will always recommend using Elite Prospects, but this article is actually not behind the EP Rinkside paywall. You can read this article for free, even if you don't have EP Rinkside. At least at the time of recording this audio, if I open an incognito page, if I sign out, I can still read this. And that's a really big gift. I'm not sure if this article is going to be available long term, but for right now, it's available. And Elite Prospects has some of the best coverage of prospect talk and draft talk on the internet. So go out there and read this article if you have access to it. I think you do. If you don't, then please don't come at me. What I wanted to do in this piece was dive into the top 5 names that are written about as 2021 top prospects 5 years later. Here's the original top 5 that we saw back in 2021. The first overall pick, the Buffalo Sabres took Owen Power, who has 135 points in 309 NHL games. He made history as the first overall pick in, 16 years to not play in the National Hockey League the very next season at the beginning of the year. He ended up going back over to the Michigan Wolverines for a season before finishing off his draft +1 in Buffalo. That hadn't been done since Wyatt Johnston. The second overall pick in 2021 was Matty Beniers, a guy that could have gone first overall depending on who you asked, but ultimately it was the unicorn-like profile of an Owen Power that won over Beniers, hence the second overall pick going to Seattle. Third overall, Mason McTavish, a guy that we just made a video about. Could he get traded to Montreal? Who really knows? Fourth overall, you saw Luke Hughes get taken by the New Jersey Devils in order to play with his brother Jack Hughes. Fifth overall, Kent Johnson went to the Columbus Blue Jackets, yet another Michigan Wolverine. Although, if I'm not mistaken, Kent Johnson was drafted out of the Trail Smoke Eaters in the BCHL. And then you have the rest of the top 10. Simon Edvinsson, 6th overall. William Eklund, 7th overall. Brandt Clark, Dylan Guenther, and the most amazing pick of the top of the draft, Tyler Boucher, who is yet to play an NHL game. This was a pretty interesting top 10, but the Elite Prospects ranking has a few different names going 1 through 5. Take a look at the first overall pick that is taken in hindsight, Wyatt Johnston, who is currently on the Dallas Stars. Wyatt Johnston was initially ranked 54th overall by the Elite Prospects team, but he ended up going 23rd overall. He has scored 251 points in 314 games, which is at the very top of the 2021 draft by a long shot. This guy is the most productive player, and it's not even close. He has 100 more points than Matthew Knies and William Eklund, and he has 60 more points than Matty Beniers. The fact that Wyatt Johnston went 23rd was essentially an error in scouting for most NHL teams, and having him as the number 1 prospect in a redraft makes a lot of sense. One of the biggest draft steals in NHL history, Elite Prospects goes out there and says. Let's go out there and take a look at number 2. You have Dylan Guenther, who is currently on the Utah Mammoth. Guenther, in reality, went 9th overall, with the draft pick that was initially held by the Vancouver Canucks, which was sent over to Arizona in the ill-fated Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade. Guenther is really coming into his own this season, and when you take a look at the overall numbers, I mean, this guy has just been an absolute monster in terms of points. He is at 70 points in 80 games in a full season's worth of Production, he currently has 58 points in 66 games and 33 goals too. He's on pace for 40 goals. This guy's 22 years old. How do you go out there and combat that? He is one of the best players from the 2021 draft. Second overall makes a lot of sense, as does the third overall name. Because if you scroll down here, you can see that the Elite Prospects crew has Simon Edvinsson as the re-ranked third overall guy. Edvinsson, as we had mentioned, went 6th overall in real life to the Detroit Red Wings, and now he is being ranked as the top defenseman after having Luke Hughes and Owen Power taken above him in real life. Making draft boards at Elite Prospects is a collaborative process. Takes emerge from our debates, some evaluations, and the influence we have over each other. That being said, Edvinsson was a prospect that the writer here, David St. Louis, held in significantly higher esteem than the consensus in 2021, which saw him going 8th overall in their ranking. We ended up ranking him too low. Edvinsson's progression since his draft year has influenced the way we now project defensemen. He has evolved from a high-event, creative but mistake-prone playmaker in his draft year into a much more complete D-man. In the end, the concerns about his decision-making don't matter, as he broke his bad habits and learned to use his special tools to shut down the opposition. It took him longer to make an impact than other D-men in the class, but that's also because of Detroit's slower development system. We attribute part of this success story to development, but Edvinsson's archetype also had more value than we had anticipated. Toolsy defensemen possessing size, range, and puck skills have multiple pathways to success. They retain significant advantages over their peers as they mature and can leverage those advantages to earn top roles. If Edvinsson earns more offensive opportunities one day, we may see his puck skills reemerge. But even if he remains as highly mobile and tangy two-way defenseman, he will maintain top 5 value in this draft. Of course, if you read every name here and you try to map it out, Wyatt Johnston would have gone over to Buffalo, Dylan Guenther could have gone over to Seattle, and Edvinsson could have gone over to Anaheim. That would have been something, right? 4th overall, the New Jersey Devils really selected Luke Hughes, but the re-ranking has them taking Matthew Knies instead, who went much further down in the 2021 draft. Matthew Knies was a 57th overall pick, 151 points in 227 games. He has been a steal for Toronto in that second round. He is re-ranked as number 4, one of the biggest hits of the Dubas-era Toronto Maple Leafs, a first-line winger drafted at 57th overall, whom we at Elite Prospects ranked 66th. This is where you talk about the tools in his draft year, his size and his mobility, his physicality, but how they weren't actually rated highly enough. It's by taking into account the bulk of his work and banking on the development of his already projectable tools, a bit like Edvinsson, that one could see upside in his game. Immediately upon joining the University of Minnesota, we saw his ability to complement top-end teammates with his puck-retrieving skills and playmaking ability. We knew we had made a mistake and immediately changed our projection to a top 6 role. He remains more of a complementary player than a true line driver. His play has dipped this season, probably due to an injury and the fact that the Leafs suck, but his power playmaker skill set prized around the league gives him top 5 value in this draft. And then, the 5th overall name on the redraft, a spot that was really taken by Kent Johnson of Columbus, belongs to Matty Beniers, who was ranked as the number 1 guy by Elite Prospects. He ended up going number 2 in reality. They projected that Beniers would score more than he has. A few 60 to 70 point seasons seemed within his capability, but otherwise he has become what most envisioned for him, a true center and one of the top defensive players in the league. There aren't many lessons to draw from his development, aside from the lower scoring. His game looked entirely projectable to the NHL in his draft year, as he already skated the right routes, reloaded above the play in a timely way, and outworked the opposition. A player who mostly used his speed to create and took available plays, Beniers lacked high-end playmaking abilities and a talent for manipulating defenses. He never really developed these post-draft. It isn't surprising. Most players who lack those elements never really develop them. So with that said, this is the top 5 of the Elite Prospects 2021 Re-Draft. 1st overall, Wyatt Johnston. 2nd overall, Dylan Guenther. 3rd overall, Simon Edvinsson. 4th overall, Matthew Knies. And 5th overall, Matty Beniers. There is a lot of names talked about on this article, and it goes all the way down to 32. The entire first round is covered here, so go out there and check out the article. It'll be linked in the description below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Simon Edvinsson, Red Wings D-man, taken at number 6, being ranked all the way here at number 3? Is this the right move? Do you think the Wings ended up with the right guy? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.